Now listen, I understand that J.K. Rowling isn't the most popular person on the internet. She's made some pretty controversial statements in the past, and she's just kind of a controversial figure in general. But I've enjoyed some of her work, Harry Potter being one of the very few series that I've even mildly enjoyed from her, and even though I'm not one of her largest fans, and I'm not a die-hard fan of her work, I couldn't help but talk about the situation with the new Harry Potter game because Warner Brothers is just oozing with corporate hypocrisy here. So the first article that I'm going to be referencing is one from Bounding Into Comics. Warner Brothers Games clarifies J.K. Rowling's role in upcoming Hogwarts Legacy RPG. Amid the recent outrage towards Harry Potter scribe J.K. Rowling due to her views on transgenderism, supposedly, Warner Brothers Games has clarified the extent of the author's involvement with the recently announced Hogwarts Legacy video game. Announced on September 16th, Hogwarts Legacy is an upcoming RPG set in the Harry Potter universe that will allow players to enroll in the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry during the 1800s and embark on their own personal journey of magic, discovery, and adventure. I'm pretty excited for this game, to be honest. I think that this game looked pretty good. Obviously, we didn't really see a lot of gameplay. We saw a couple of seconds of it. It was just kind of a cinematic trailer to get everyone excited for the title, but I thought that it looked good, and I think that if you're a fan of Harry Potter, you're probably excited for this title. However, due to the ever-growing backlash against Rowling's outspoken criticism of transgender social politics and defense of biological gender, Warner Brothers Games felt the need to clarify the level of involvement the series creator would have in the game. They're basically afraid that people are going to boycott this game because it's Harry Potter and it's in a universe that J.K. Rowling created, so they're trying to preemptively defend their product, even though there are already people who are saying boycott this game, J.K. Rowling created the universe that it's in, because they don't like her. On the game's official FAQ page, in response to a question that inquired what is J.K. Rowling's involvement with the game and is this a new story from J.K. Rowling, Warner Brothers Games stated that J.K. Rowling is not directly involved in the creation of the game. The studio then explained that, however, her extraordinary body of writing is the foundation of all of the projects in the wizarding world, and clarified that Hogwarts Legacy is not a new story from J.K. Rowling. They're just basically trying to save their asses, saying, well, yes, it is originally her work because it's based on her universe. She had nothing to do with the creative elements of the game. And people who are asking for more of a statement, they are actually pointing back to a previous statement they made in June, talking about J.K. Rowling and some of the comments that she had made. The events in the last several weeks have firmed our resolve as a company to confront difficult societal issues, the studio's statement began. Warner Brothers' position on inclusiveness is well established, and fostering a diverse and inclusive culture has never been more important to our company and to our audiences around the world. We deeply value the work of our storytellers who give so much of themselves in sharing their creations with all of us. We recognize our responsibility to foster empathy and advocate understanding of all communities and all people, particularly those we work with and those we reach through our content. As you can tell, this is a pretty basic, pretty generic answer. They're just trying to make sure that people aren't going to boycott their game and that people are going to purchase their products. Warner Brothers is claiming to be inclusive and caring, yet they've got no problems with profiting from her work when she's such a terrible person, apparently. It's the same thing that's been happening with H.P. Lovecraft's work, and I even recently tweeted about it. I tweeted about it yesterday. People yell about H.P. Lovecraft and say he was awful, terrible things, yet still profit from his work. The same thing is happening with J.K. Rowling. If you condemn someone's actions, don't profit from their creations, and I 100% agree with my own statement here. It's the same thing that's happening with H.P. Lovecraft. People are claiming that he's this awful, terrible, disgusting person, or he was, yet they've got no problems with profiting from his work while trying to pander to people, saying we dislike who he was. If you've got a problem with these writers like H.P. Lovecraft and J.K. Rowling, don't support their work, don't use their work, don't make new characters in their universes, don't touch their universes, leave it alone and create something new. If you want to look like a hypocrite, this is how you do it. Now listen, I'm not trying to defend everything that J.K. Rowling has said or done, because she's definitely done things in the past that I disagree with, like changing her characters years after books were finished in an attempt to pander to specific groups of people, but some of the hate that she gets is pretty damn unwarranted in my opinion. I also wanted to read through the recent situation with her book and some more of the criticism that she's been facing. J.K. Rowling under fire for featuring a transvestite serial killer in her latest book. Harry Potter scribe J.K. Rowling has come under fire yet again by critics for her use of a transvestite serial killer in her latest novel. Since 2013, Rowling has authored a series of detective novels known as the Cormoran Strike series, which follow the adventures of a private eye and Afghan war veteran Cormoran Strike under the pen name Robert Galbraith. The first 4 Strike books have since been adapted into a miniseries for the BBC. The 5th entry into the series, Troubled Blood, is set to release to the public on September 15th. While details of Troubled Blood's plots still remain under wraps during its production, a review from the UK-based newspaper The Daily Telegraph informed its readers that the meat of the book is the investigation into a cold case, the disappearance of G.P. Margaret Bramborough in 1974, thought to have been a victim of Dennis Creed, a transvestite serial killer. It should be noted that the character of Creed is never referred to as a transgender individual and is explicitly stated to be a cis male. The character and his victim are also fictitious and were not based off of any real-world individuals. I think that this is huge to point out that the character is never referred to as a transgender individual because people are calling this transphobic now. This brief description of the character from the Daily Telegraph sparked a wave of anger directed towards Rowling, as many accused the author of once again supporting transphobia, supposedly. Vanity Fair declared that Rowling proves her commitment to transphobia in her new novel and claimed that the author now appears to be bringing her turf logic to a bookshelf near you. As you can see, there are plenty of people on social media saying this woman is unhinged, and I mean that. The amount of damage with this could cause to the trans community is fucking horrifying. My problem here is that this book may come out and it may be offensive. This book may come out and it may portray these characters in an awful way, but these people have no clue at all because the book hasn't even released yet. How about you judge the book itself instead of judging a short paragraph that the Daily Telegraph told you about? Now, I understand that people are saying that this is offensive to transvestites and it's painting them in a negative light, but honestly, I think that it's perfectly fine to have a character like this be a villain. Just because a character is a transvestite or of a certain sexuality or of a certain skin color, I think that any character should be allowed to be a villain. It's fiction, it's not a real person, it's a made-up character in a made-up universe. If we start saying this gender or this sexual orientation can't be a villain, the only villains will be straight white men, because to anyone who is woke, those are the only people who are villains. It's bonkers to me that people are saying it's offensive to have a villain be like this. At this rate, every story is going to be straight white men versus LGBTQ women of color, where the bad white men try to drag the women down, but the women always win. I mean, storytelling is getting boring and predictable. Stop complaining about a half original story when you haven't even read it. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video surrounding J.K. Rowling and her new book, and of course the new Harry Potter game that she is apparently not affiliated with, even though Warner Brothers still wants to profit from her creations. But let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like and share it. And of course, if you did not, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.